today, the three of us, and I'm sure we got some things to talk about. And as you know, we always have an agenda, an itinerary, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when thinking minds get together, things get to be a little in depth sometimes, and we sometimes miss some stuff. But you always know you can always find us on social media, and you can always get everything that we talk about here on air. So as always, news updates. We're gonna get into some scores, and then we're gonna rock out and do what we do. So again, folks, welcome to the SportsRap podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio, each and every Monday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Hope everybody isn't too shook up with the time situation. Time went back an hour, so we lost an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's kind of rough on some people, especially when it comes on a weekend, because it's hard. Cause I know some people, even though we still somewhat in this pandemic, but things have been open. So I know people have been out doing what they do, doing their thing. So they might have forgot. So if your clock says 12:04, it's really 11:04. You know, so when you get around to it, make sure you switch them clocks back to the right time, or you'll be out of sync for a long time.
We got some technical difficulties.
Yeah, you got some technical difficulties going on over there.
Right?
So that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't come.
I know, right?
When you're absent, you forget how to do things. Some of the minimal things you forget.
It's always did it get in there?
Do.
Yeah, it got in there. Y'all make me laugh.
So let's get into it, y'all. The Boston Celtics held a team meeting for players only after their tumultuous start. So we've heard the comments from Marcus Smart about his teammates Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, somewhat stating that they need to learn how to pass the ball. He said he's been open, they don't pass the ball, yada yada yada. Personally, on a personal level, I could give a you know what about them. I'm glad they going through some turmoil. They've always been a thorn in our side. So, but for sakes of what we do here, we've got to stay honest and say, I hope that they get that thing together. Because although, like I said, on the personal side, I could care less. As far as being a fan of the sport, I'm not one of those guys where I want to see some of our competition fall away and make it easy. Right. I want to battle the competition. So hopefully they'll get that thing together and see what happens.
And for the sake of the game, they're a nice trio. They're young. They still, so that's something that we can see. For
now that we sit here just talking about that real quick, I think one of the things is, or could arguably be, the new coach. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as far as that coach, as far as youth, being his first time being a head coach, and then with his age, where he's a little bit closer to his star players' age than most coaches in the NBA are to their star players. So you would think that he could relate a little bit better, but for the simple fact that he's just coming in and those two guys have already been there, and we know the state of these young guys today. Look, I was here already, so I know you the coach, but you got to fit me in the way I want to be fit in, not fit me in the way we can win right now. And I'm just speculating, so I don't really know. So, you know, if the season continues to go in turmoil, remember I said this at 11:07 a.m. Monday, November the 8th, 2021.
Well, if he's smart, he'll call Eric Spoelstra and see what he did.
Right.
Because he was a videographer who became a coach and dealing with superstars.
And even so much, quiet as kept, not you brought it up, Bart, thanks for that. That's a good point. Just triggered something in me. He could even call Brett Brown. And I know somebody sitting around saying, why would he do that? Look what he did. I said, you know.
He's the coach.
But like me and Baldy have said, I just felt like Brett Brown was not the coach for the Sixers team as they began to grow to where they are now. But as far as coaching, just coaching, X's and O's, concepts, he's not a bad coach. I've been to a couple of his coaching conferences. I mean, coaching clinics. All these been there too. And when you go to something like that, you see it differently.
Right.
Because it's more in a practice setting, and then there's the explanation of why I did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
When you're watching it, as opposed to when you're watching it on TV or watching it at a game.
Exactly.
If you understand, like me and Baldy do, we could sit there immediately and say, "Oh, wow, and then we'll get it."
I saw, right.
It's
funny you said that because I did see the difference after going to that camp.
Yeah, but it's easier when you go to that camp. It's like, it's right away, bang.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to a game and you see it and you be like, "Yo, that look familiar."
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch it and you look and and then maybe they get you a timeout or something, and then you be like, that was that play.
Talking,
yeah.
Right.
So
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We went to that camp. Well, I had been going for 3 years or whatever with our guys, and when he explained it, because I remember the first time I went, we, like us as young coaches, we was asking a question like, well, why is it that you have Joel trailing,
right?
And my man Mike Anderson. I remember Mike got up and asked, why is the best player on your team trailing when the easiest basket is close
to the
we don't have a true transition team. He was trying to create a team that could hit threes, and not Robert Covington was our only guy that at times would go to the bucket.
Right.
So it's like you said, you get a chance to hear his side of it and why he does what he does, and when you watch the game, you start to see it like, yep, that's what he was talking about.
Right.
And then you see why Joel Embiid was shooting his three, and then giving space to other guys to get to the basket and all that. So you saw it.
Yeah.
It just, as the team progressed, I think he had a hard time. I don't know if I could say wrapping his hands around what was going on with the talent, or categorizing the talent, or whatever it was. I know that some coaches, what they say, they have a hard time controlling the wave.
Right.
And when the wave is going upward, if you're not a cerebral coach, or you can't deal with the mentality of your players, the ship is sinking. And it started to sink. And the best thing they ever did, remember we talked about who we thought should be the coach, and we said, man, I mean, if they get Mark Jackson, that'll work. I think that could work.
Right.
Yep.
I hope they can get a Doc Rivers, but Doc ain't leaving L.A.
Right.
And who would have thought?
And had we got him.
What's up, Mike?
Had we got him. I ain't gonna lie. Had we got him. Jimmy
Mike,
Butler would have never left.
It's a little early, Mike. Give us a minute, okay? Mike says your hard time getting Simmons to shoot.
Hey, Mike, let's not forget. We sat right in that Brett Brown clinic, and when he was explaining stuff, you and I both looked at each other like, what? And then when they asked, anybody got a question? Mike was first moving his hand up like,
we got you,
I need
Mike.
that. Hold on. I need some explanation, But yeah, getting him to shoot was another one, man.
Yeah.
Getting him to shoot. But
absolutely.
Hey, since we're here with Ben Simmons,
right.
Let's sprinkle a little salt, pepper, and seasoning on this thing. He's back to getting fined again.
Oh man, we gonna talk about that.
All right, well never mind. I ain't gonna jump the gun. I saw it in the jump. I ain't gonna jump the gun.
We definitely gonna get to that because a lot of people have been asking me when I posted it, and they want to know what they don't really understand it. So we'll definitely get into that. Henry Ruggs was driving 156 miles an hour in a fatal accident. Henry Ruggs has since been released by the Las Vegas Raiders and is looking at arguably a possible 27 years. The vehicular homicide is like the 20-something years alone.
In Vegas.
And then you got the driving under the influence where he was almost 3 points above
150 miles an
the
hour.
legal alcohol
off the top
limit.
of my head, I can run down some guys that have vehicular homicides, but I'm just gonna punch them up while we talking to remember to see what they got.
Right.
The NFL is reviewing the COVID-19 protocol, especially with that situation. The most recent situation in Green Bay. Ex-MLB player had predicted the World Series results in March. So that's crazy how this is the second time this has happened. When Houston first won their World Series most recently, few years back, it came out that there was a guy approximately 10 years prior to that had predicted that they would win it, and then he predicted everything like the year and all, and it got to that point and they won. So Buster Posey plans to resign.
Okay.
What's going on, Mo?
What's up, Omar? How you doing, buddy?
We got a caller on the line right now.
Caller, you're on the air. Caller, you're on the air.
What it do?
Omar.
Am I the caller?
Yes, you are the caller.
Hello. Who's that?
When you say Omar, what's up?
Who's that?
We all can hear you.
Who's that?
What's up, Mo?
Oh, what's up? What's up, Mo? Good morning. How you doing?
What's happening?
I'm great. I'm sorry. I need to tell you to reboot the system this morning.
You know me, Mo. You know I got your back.
What up,
We
fella?
live. We doing. I did it. We good.
Y'all say, good morning. You got full house.
Yes, we got a full house today.
Good. Good morning, everybody. Have a great show. And as you always do, it's amazing.
Thank you much.
What's up,
God
Mo?
bless your sweetheart, Mo. God bless your
What's up,
sweetheart.
Mo?
Oh, I miss you guys.
Well, you know where we at.
I know where you are. Okay.
All right,
Like me
thanks.
this morning, bro.
So that was the boss lady calling in, checking in with us. Again, Frank is over there doing his stuff again.
That's because
So,
he
you
got
know,
this silver
real
bag
having some
gorilla.
fun.
No, it is. It's a charger. It's a
It's
charger.
that outer box.
You have to take it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, you gotta have two cases, man. You gotta sometimes you gotta have the charger case on, and sometimes you gotta take
Take it
that
off?
joint off.
If
Cause
it's
I know I
cool,
got
it's
one of
cool.
them. I got one of them too, but it's super bulky.
Yeah,
Like
because
I
it
take
charge
that.
my phone
Like
real
my
good.
one that I use for the charger actually is like when I'm out.
Right.
Cause I know my phone's gonna be out. I'm taking pictures and
Yeah,
doing
I
stuff
be
like that.
doing Uber with it.
But like
It's
when, just on the regular, I gotta take that joint. No, I can't even fit in your pocket.
Yeah.
Buster Posey is planning to retire.
the UFC.
Aldrich's name is crossed out on the Blackhawks Stanley Cup. If you don't know about that
What's up,
story, what's up, man? What's going on?
Yo.
If you don't know about that story, Mr. Aldrich, one of the Blackhawks I talked about last week, and their situation with their sexual misconduct,
Wow.
his name has now been scratched off of the Blackhawks' most recent Stanley Cup. The Suns owner is in hot water again. More
For real?
stuff
What'd he
going
do?
on. More stuff going on behind the scenes.
Oh, wow.
And it's real crazy how it's starting to run rampant. Like, we thought with everything that's going on with COVID, with the Sixers having so many people out, the situation with Aaron Rodgers, and then it's like every week in the NFL right now, we hear somebody's out with COVID protocol, or in the NBA, somebody's out with COVID protocol. We thought that would be one of the biggest issues in sports continuing, but apparently it's not. It's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with these teams that is now starting to come to the forefront. Georgia, University of Georgia suspends its starting linebacker after a rape allegation. So now it's even starting to trickle down to some college players, which is really getting crazy.
Right.
The National Hockey League Players Association Executive Board approves an independent investigation into the union's handling of the sexual assault charges allegations by Kyle Beach against the Chicago Blackhawks. Portland Trail Blazers also are launching an investigation into their GM Neil Oshie, with staffers alleging a 10-year toxic, hostile work environment, carrying the weight with intimidation, public profanity, laced tirades, mental anguish, among other bullying tactics. The NBA is recommending that each player and coaches look into getting the booster shot if they are vaccinated. That is your news for Monday, November the 8th. We're going to get right into the scores, and then we'll get into our NFL Week 9 recap. In the NHL yesterday, the Golden Knights fall to the Red Wings 5-2. The Blackhawks defeat the Predators 2-1. The Wild outlast the Islanders 5-2. The Blues fall to the Ducks 4-1. And the Canucks beat the Stars 6-3. In the NBA on Sunday, the Nets outlast the Raptors 116-103. The Cavaliers beat the Knicks 126-109. The Pacers just get by the Kings 94-91. The Bucks 94, the Wizards 101. The Jazz fall to the Magic 107-100. The Thunder have been on a roll lately. Beat the Spurs 99-94. The Warriors beat the Rockets 120-107. And 120-106, the Clippers over the Hornets. before we close out today, folks, we will give you Mondays for tonight's NBA schedule and tonight's NHL schedules as well. So, right now, we got Frank's gonna give you some top 25 NCAA scores before we get into the NFL scores, because the NFL scores are gonna kick us right into some other dialogue for the show.
I hope I don't miss anything. I had it got a couple extra teams on the on my phone. Starting off, University of Pittsburgh beat Duke 54-29. Ole Miss 27.
Go Pitt.
Ole Miss
If you're watching Pitt
27.
football, check out number 50, Jason Colley Jr. It's my little cousin. So shout out to him and shout out to the Pitt Panthers.
Ole Miss 27, Liberty 14. University of North Carolina upset Wake Forest 58-55. Georgia put a whooping on Missouri 43-6. Ohio State ball squad 26 over Nebraska 17.
You know.
BYU 59, Idaho State 14. Notre Dame 34, Navy 6. TCU 30, Baylor 28. Wisconsin 52, Rutgers 3. Penn State Nittany Lions 31, Maryland 14. Purdue 40. Michigan State 29, and Alabama 20, LSU 14.
Cool. One more score real quick before we get into our NFL scores. Shout outs to the Delaware Blue Coats. If you see, I'm wearing the new Blue Coats gear today. Saturday was their season opener and home opener. Sluggish start, but they end up pulling that game out, beating the Long Island Nets 114 to 100. Shout outs to the Delaware Blue Coats organization for showing me all the hospitality that they did on Saturday.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Texas A&M. Morrell Chappelle, your son doing his thing out there. Philly grown, Philly's own. From Northeast High School out there doing his thing.
Phillips is watching with us. Thanks
my
for
man Nate the Great.
Thanks for
Philly is on a little come up.
When you do the research on how many Philly football players are playing big time football,
Philly is on a little come up.
We got a crazy list.
We're fifth in the country, the biggest city in the country.
I'm just saying, just the individual.
Yeah, but we not a football. We weren't a football town. We're ball team. Football hits.
Like we said, when basketball season starts, we got plenty of people.
How you doing?
That's gonna be coming up in
that.
And most recently, we got Khalid Cooper, WNBA champion.
We just celebrated her
Philly's
this weekend.
And they celebrated her this weekend with a citation. Yes. Wow. She was honored this weekend with the citation from the city. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Great for her.
And Kev was shooting a movie, shooting one of his scenes over there on Airdrie Street.
That's right. That's right. So Philly is really on a little
got a little something going on here, Philly. I mean, he was filming a movie. I don't want to, when you say Philly and shooting, man, to get a bad rep.
Yeah, you get a bad rep. You don't want everybody to get confused about that. So we're going to get through these NFL scores real quick because Baldy's got some information for us, and that's going to lead us right into the first topic that we kind of mentioned in the opening. Going back to Thursday, which kicked off week 9, 45-30, the Colts take that one over the Jets. Moving into yesterday's games, Cleveland 41, Cincinnati 16, Denver 30, Dallas 16. Needed that for our division. Even though our division still stinks, but we needed that to help out in the division. Houston falls to Miami 17-9. Atlanta outlasts New Orleans 27-25. The Giants, shout out to my guy Raheem Graves and my other guy Ace De Niro. The Giants fans, you guys got to win. You beat the team that we couldn't beat. So kudos to you guys for that. Yeah, man. Yeah, they coaching does suck. They should have won that game yesterday. Absolutely. That score, Giants 23, Las Vegas 16. New England 24, Carolina 6. Carolina started out pretty good. Now they've been in a slump. I think they done lost like 4 straight.
It's that quarterback. I told you about
Sam Darnold. Same way I said to you way back when about Mr. Jared Goff. That's a different story. An upset in a very, very low scoring game. Jacksonville outlasts Buffalo 9-6. In OT, Baltimore gets by Minnesota 34-31. The Chargers get by the Eagles 27-24. Green Bay falls to Kansas City 13-7. Arizona beats up a little bit on San Fran 31-17. And the Titans take this one over the Rams 28-16. Tonight, closing out Monday Night Football, Chicago at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And before we close out, folks, we'll give you all three of us will give you our picks for week
Yes,
7
sir.
when we give you the schedules for the NBA and the NHL. So sticking there with the NFL,
Right.
the first thing we are going to delve into, and this is going to lead right into what Baldy, the information that Baldy has for us, the Henry Ruggs situation. And we all know the situation. It's a very sad situation. Small silver lining in that, if you saw any of that video, for the first time, I think in a long time, you actually saw what looked like some legitimate remorse from Henry Ruggs on the side of the road at the scene of that accident.
Right.
And I mean, it very well could have been a little bit of fear mixed in with the sincerity and the remorse. But nonetheless, that's the first time I believe in a long time that you've actually ever seen that.
Right.
You know, usually people might be distraught, but they try not to show that emotion.
Right.
He just couldn't help it, and that emotion was displayed very, very widely in that situation. But if you don't know the story, he was at Topgolf. He was drinking. He had a date with him. He's drunk. He decides to drive home or wherever they were going next.
Miles an hour.
Driving in a Corvette and pushing it to the limit, 156 miles an hour. Crashes into, rear ends a lady in a minivan, or I think it was a RAV4, an SUV. The minivan instantly bursts into flames, killing the driver and her pet that was also in the car with her.
Wow.
So again, folks, we'd like to give you both sides of the story, if you will, give you a little insight on what actually happened and what goes on behind the scenes. If a lot of you do not know or did not know that these NFL players within their players union, within their symposiums, are privy to and are alerted to information that the public will normally not get.
Right.
One of those things is they have a car service.
Right.
Uber.
And not even an Uber. They have a legit car service.
NFL,
Each team has a representative that any player at any given time can call. If they can't call, get in contact with the service, they can call that player rep, and that player rep can tell them, yo, look, I get it, whatever, I'll get a hold of them. You just stay there or we'll get something done. So I understand the age range of Henry Ruggs. And again, like we talked a couple weeks back, these guys that come from nothing. Now I have this money,
spoiled, man.
and I got this car, and hell, I'm gonna test it out. And then your adrenaline and things are flowing. You're not cohesive enough to say, no, I'm not gonna do it tonight because I've been drinking. But then you got a lady with him again. That age bracket, that youth. I'm gonna show off a little bit. And I'm not saying that this was definitely the case. I'm giving you my interpretation of how these types of situations can come about. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is what he did per se. And ultimately, you get into a situation like Henry Ruggs is in now. 2 years into the league, NFL career is pretty much over.
It is over. He's going to jail. He'll get some job time.
You know, the sentencing has been reported that he could arguably end up doing a possible, if he gets the max on each charge, about 26 to 27 years in jail. He definitely
get like 10 years.
So that is definitely out of hand for him. Mag says, bad decisions change lives. It's that simple. Career over in jail. Yeah, absolutely, man. You're right, because he's definitely, and like I was saying, even if he doesn't do the full tilt, he's gonna do some jail time.
7 to 10 at least.
And that type of situation is going to make it that much harder if he even intends to try to apply to be reinstated. That's going to be heavily a part of
they're going to use him as
getting in. You know, he's definitely going to be used as an example. So, with that being said, we talked real brief about that, and we talked about his time frame. So now, Baldy's got some info for us on some other guys who've been in maybe some similar incidents and the time frames that they were looking at as far as the charges.
Just a few. Unfortunately, these guys have more felonies that's wrapped around shooting and killing.
Right.
OJ and people out there.
OJ,
But for the few, we remember Dante Stallworth did it. He had a vehicular homicide. Was Miami.
Yep.
Miami Street.
Right.
He did 24 days in jail.
Right.
2 years of house arrest. And then Dwayne Goodrich used to play for the Cowboys.
Right.
He also had a vehicular homicide.
Right.
Leonard Little used to play for the Rams.
Right.
He had failed 3 field sobriety tests before that.
Right.
Wow.
And they actually had somebody, like you said, they had people following him to make sure he was good. He was still eluding them and banged out.
Well, how about Mr. Alden Smith?
Well,
You know that guy's terrible.
Here's the weird part.
That guy.
The weird part about Alden Smith was he told teams that he was an alcoholic.
Right.
And they fought to try to get him help with
Right.
alcoholism.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys weren't admitting that they had a problem.
Denial, right? Yeah.
It was technically a mistake.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got a guy that failed 3 sobriety tests. He's got an issue. He got an issue. Or he just refuses. And not to put my guy on the block. But when Kevin Hart had his situation
Right.
where he was in a car accident.
Right.
And the worst thing about Kev being in a car accident, not the car accident where he hurt his back. That was different.
Right.
That was just the car got out of control. But there was a situation where he basically was going to get a DUI and had a car accident. And the worst thing about that car accident was he had just signed like an endorsement deal with either Ford. He had a Ford endorsement deal. He lost the endorsement deal.
Right.
But then it comes back to your guys that's with you.
Right.
So what's up with your guys? Are you that far? Are you that far in your starism that you can't give up your keys and let somebody else who ain't as drunk as you?
Right.
They should step in real quick. They should
Now don't
step
get me
in.
wrong, but don't get me wrong. I've been in situations like that
Right.
where I've been fried and Joker's like, "No man, you won't give me your keys, man." I'm like, "No, get out of here. Am I drunk?" And then I ain't take my. And the Joker still let me drive.
Right. We was downtown, boy.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's and so if you get the opportunity to learn from it,
right.
the very next year, guess who we did?
Right.
Cinco de Mayo, my birthday, we rented a damn limo. We was all together,
Right.
and we left with the limo, and then we got back to
We
where
all
we was
fried.
at. So
we all safe.
you should,
Right.
if you're given the opportunity to learn from it,
Right.
but ain't no way in the world that this Joker, he's in the league now. He been partying his whole life, so he know
Bad habits are bad habits.
they are until the bad habit
Right.
causes pain.
Yeah. True.
And when that bad habit causes pain,
Right.
then inadvertently it can cause you your career, which it's causing him his life.
His livelihood. And he should know better, but it is what it is.
But
Yeah, but how many times have you or we
And see,
drove and know like, man,
and it's always like I tell people, and people sometimes look at me and they be like, "Oh, but he's supposed, like you say, he's supposed to."
we ain't no different than
I
them.
said, but here's the thing.
What's the difference? 32 to 20.
Here's the thing.
Right. Yeah.
22 years old, 23 years old.
Right.
All 3 of us sitting here, we can sit here and go through a whole show and a half
I'll be 48.
on the crap that we did at
Right.
22, 23
Right.
years old.
Yeah, I know.
But
right, go ahead.
the difference is, like Baldy said, us being the regular Joes, so to speak,
Yeah, he feels as though he amazing.
it was a gift and a curse for us.
Right.
Because we were afforded the opportunity, like Baldy said, to learn from it. Right? But in that situation, it's amplified, like you were just motioning Frank, the money, because now
Go to your head.
I never had this kind of money.
Yeah, I'm invincible.
Like, I can drive a Corvette,
I'm that boy.
and sometimes the mind frame, and again, folks, these are all my thoughts. I'm not saying this is actually what happens and what goes on, but
Right.
these are the possibilities that you can argue and talk about. 22, I'm in the
I
NFL.
know where I was at.
I buy a Corvette, and I'm not even going to go to the extent of what he did, DUI, whatever. I get an offender bender, depending on the damage,
Right.
depending on my contract.
Right.
at sometimes, in some points, in some instances, I can say, oh, all right, I'll just go buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that situation with Mike Tyson when he crashed one of his cars.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what car it was.
Right.
And the police come to the scene and he's like, oh, don't worry about it, y'all can tow that, whatever. I'll just go get another one.
Yeah. He feels invincible, yeah.
So like you said, not so much them feeling invincible, the
Privilege.
fact that the privilege,
and
then them
I can
knowing,
do what I want to
but
do.
the privilege of them knowing,
I can buy another vehicle.
like, okay, it's a Bentley, but I just signed a $42 million contract.
Yeah. AI had 8 cars.
I can get another one.
Exactly.
I may not get that year or exactly what I had,
I'll
but
replace it.
I can go get another Bentley if I want to get another Bentley.
Right.
Worst case scenario, I'm going to get another car anyway.
Exactly.
And I mean, you might even have some instances where somebody might say, oh, well, I crashed that Bentley. I was waiting to get the new one anyway, so here's my opportunity.
It was a blessing in disguise.
You know, here's my opportunity. So it's real funny that,
arrogant?
again, I don't even think you can call it arrogant. I kind of think of it as...
It's privilege.
It's rich privilege.
It's rich privilege.
Privilege and not knowing.
Yeah.
Like the D-back that played for the Packers that ended up with all those sexual abuse charges. His name escapes me right now, but when we looked at it, me and Baldy, we talked about it on the show. Darren Sharp.
Darren Sharp.
When we actually delved into it,
Right.
we found out that it went back to him in his college days.
He's been doing it.
Like, what's the name? The one got,
so what we came to the conclusion was
so?
he was a star athlete in
Tight end.
college,
Chief.
which also means that he was a star athlete in high school.
Thank you.
And we didn't get that far, but it could have happened in high school.
Right.
But we found it happened in college.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that same thing like Baldy said, that privilege.
Right.
Where
Rich privilege.
it's going to come out, but I'm the star player. They going to work this out for me. I ain't really got to worry about it. It's going to get worked out. And then when you
they younger, it's that jock privilege.
Yeah. And then when you get away with it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, all right, well, it happened. I mean,
I'm feeling invincible.
we got, like they say, Lou Savino in City. You know what I mean? I got Savino. I'm cool if it happens. If it gets come out again, alleged,
Right.
I got my man on it. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a care for them. It's not really a concern.
Right.
So again, like I said, I won't say it's I say it's a little bit naive.
Right.
I say Black Baldy said the privilege.
Right.
But you have to take advantage of, like we said, they had a car service. And I'm sure every league has something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, when you look at the Sixers games, they've got security in Sixers gear alongside the bench with the players. And some people are just looking at it not knowing, like, oh, now a lot of coaches. No, they got coaches that are on the bench and are directly behind the bench. Philly's own sits behind on the corner on the end of the bench.
Yeah.
That's security. That's not a coach.
Right.
That's security. So when these guys go out, they have security. I can go back further to Andrew Bynum and the Lakers, where they got into a situation with him hanging out too much. They felt it was too much for the team that was hurting this game. They put somebody on him to watch. Every time he went out somewhere, they had somebody there watching him.
Real quick though, D. Ain't ball. You feel as though grown men, they have that access, and you still mess up? Something's wrong.
But
something's wrong.
I mean,
well, listen.
I can see your point in that
you know
real quick, but
you got all that.
But how in these types of situations, how do you definitively define grown man? Henry Ruggs, grown man,
22
playing football,
yeah, right.
22 years old.
Yeah.
So, in essence, take the money away in the stardom.
Right.
He's a year past the drinking limit.
Yeah.
So technically, you can debate and have a conversation and say he ain't really a grown man yet.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get a chance. He went to college. He was a star in college.
Right.
So he was privileged there.
Right.
Now you're in the pros. You got this money. Your team is doing good. You got more privilege.
Right.
So
yeah,
you have really experienced nothing.
Well, how long it take you to grow
as
up?
As far as it depends. Like I said, it's harder when you get into that situation because you haven't done anything.
Right.
You haven't had it like we had. Look at us. Like again, 22, 23. We had trials and tribulations.
I was in Job Corps in Pittsburgh.
But not even so much that. We had trials and tribulations.
Right.
We grew up in the hood.
Right.
We lived in the hood.
Yeah.
We experienced the hood.
Yeah. We had millions
He
of
didn't
dollars
have,
like this. Yeah.
where he's at now,
Right.
he didn't have to do that.
Right.
He went from high school, where he really didn't have to experience the hood because he was a star athlete, to go to a top flight school like Alabama.
Right.
And you get to Alabama, you
You're a
privileged
star.
again. You're a
Yeah.
star.
Yeah. Girls on your job.
Well, listen,
Not even that.
and I always
you
and,
ain't gotta
and
be.
it goes back.
You ain't gotta do nothing.
Right.
It goes back to how you look at who's that? Abdul Malik just said bad decisions, right? It changed lives. All right. Here's how bad decisions are, because there's a psychology to every player.
Right.
There's a psychological portion to every player.
Right.
Right? Which makes players great, which makes players not so great.
Average. Right.
All right. But the psychology of a player, of an athlete, has portion of it is that jock syndrome.
Right.
Right? Where you are catered to.
Right.
Right? Now, in a person catering to you, you've been already having bad decisions. What they say, it takes you 7 days to create a bad habit, 21 days to break it. Okay, now what if you've been having bad habits for 7 years? Is it going to take you 21 years to break it?
No.
So this is what I mean. If you have a habit of bad decisions and coaches, because of your athleticism, look past the bad decisions. You're not going to school. Coach still let you play.
Rashid, they did it for Rashid with the test.
But you're not going to school, so the coach lets you play.
Right.
You're failing in grades. The coach go talk to the teacher.
Rashid,
the teacher lets you
History
pass
lesson before watch the program.
right. So all these things translate to bad habits. Those are bad study habits.
So basically, it's pushing to the side.
Listen. Those are bad study habits.
Right.
Bad attendance habits.
Right.
Bad grades in general that transition you to another level of a sport.
Right.
But you still got these bad decisions that you was making.
Right. Yeah.
So now they're gonna hire people
Yeah.
to cover that up.
Right.
So now you become a pro.
Right.
Can't cover this one up though.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Not saying that this is him,
Ben Simmons.
Well, we gonna get
but
to
it's
that
not
in a
saying
minute.
that this is Henry Ruggs.
Right.
What I'm saying is
Right.
players have a profile like that. And it's more players that got profile like that than less.
Yeah,
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just how it
I
is.
call it
Yeah,
hitting
if you if you don't really truly understand anybody that's watching, tune in with us, and you somewhat confused as the way we're putting it out to you, just a quick note. Go back when you get a minute and watch the program.
I understand. Come on now.
The program pretty much sums up everything basically that we just said. And especially when you watch the program, pay attention to the situation with the quarterback. That'll do it for you, and that'll put it in a little bit different, maybe even a little bit better perspective as to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, Frank mentioned the grown man thing, and like I said, at 22 years old, in most states, you're a year over the legal drinking age. Now you throw in the fact that you've already been privileged, and then you amplify that now with the amount of money that you're being paid, as opposed to, like I like to say, us regular everyday 9 to 5 people, or people say that the 9 to 5 people. It's a huge difference.
Right.
And unfortunately for Henry Ruggs, the situation got to where it has gotten to.
Right.
I mean, because we've seen situations before with pro athletes that weren't this severe, that have basically, for lack of a better phrase, been brushed under the rug. It happens all the time.
Right.
We've seen it in top flight colleges as well with athletes.
Right.
But again, when you say grow up, they have no clue. Some of these guys have no clue as to what those words actually mean, grow up. Because like I say, when you come out of college, and I mean now you can come out of college football players at juniors, okay? But when we double back and we talk NBA,
Right.
now you really only have to be 1 year removed from high school. So you've got
Oh, it is 1 year again?
Yeah, you got players in the NBA.
He was in security.
You got players in the NBA that are still kids.
Right.
They can't even drink.
In a realm with grown men
Similac milk.
that 15 players in the locker room, y'all just got a big win. We gonna go to the club and celebrate, we gonna hang out a little
Can't
bit.
go.
Right.
He can't go.
Now they make exceptions.
Yeah,
Right.
they'll make exceptions or whatever,
He
but
can't go.
legally binding,
Right.
he can't go.
Which was one of the reasons why Kobe said, I was glad when I came into the league, because when all those guys was partying, they gave me the gym to
Y'all
myself.
saw The Last Dance. Remember what
Absolutely.
MJ said? MJ said,
I mean,
like, I'm in.
it goes
I'm
back
in
to,
the
like I said,
But he partied.
He partied.
Yeah, but later.
But it goes,
No. Early
he
on in
partied.
his career, he
He
partied.
partied.
Got high too.
Remember he said what the line is? He's like, I'm not going
No.
there.
Yeah, but
He
see,
partied.
But see, the difference
The
was
80s jokers party.
the difference
Okay.
was
That cocaine's a powerful drug, baby.
and see, the difference was the difference
You
was
funny, man.
part of the difference was back then
Right.
you weren't coming in that era you weren't coming out of college as a freshman, or a
Yeah,
sophomore.
you were 20.
The earliest you were
21,
coming out
22.
was a junior,
Right.
and at that point,
That's what he came out.
You're either coming out at 20. sometime during that first season or in that first off season, you're going to be 21.
He was 21
So
when he
you
came
was
out,
partying
yeah.
in there. That's what he was saying. You're partying in there.
Yeah.
So like again, when you had that transition, and like I said, we know the percentages of what's the makeup of these professional sports.
Right.
And then if we break that percentage down into the guys that came from arguably nothing
Pretty much.
to a very high percentage there as well.
Yeah.
And again, growing is like you're not really growing per se as a man to get to that status of grown man. You're growing as a man, but you, like Baldy said, you got all these habits, and then when you get there,
Right.
you seeing other guys' habits, and then you're looking like kind of like the cartoons, you're licking
Right.
at your chops and like,
Right.
oh, okay. So in about 2-3 years,
Right.
I could be doing some of that.
Mhm.
You
Hey,
know?
Dick, real quick, can I bring a point out? Not to change the subject, but he's probably my top 5, top 3 all time. They came from nothing, did it better, and they had no problems. And you know who I'm probably go with, ball. Frank Gore. His mom was on drugs. He grew up in Miami.
You got a lot of
No,
guys
I know.
like that.
I'm saying it. Not saying.
got a lot
I'm
of
saying
guys
he's in my
like
top. He ain't the only one.
I'm gonna tell you
like,
something,
what
man.
excuses?
I'm gonna tell you something. It's not.
It's not excuse.
I'm gonna tell you
Right.
what's up.
Well,
It
real
do
quick,
sound
ball.
like an excuse.
Frank Gore, mom was
Yeah,
on
but
drugs. He came
it
from
may
drugs.
sound like
I
an
ain't never
excuse,
heard it. He
but
dropped.
that's the
had
difference.
A ticket.
That's
He had
the
a
difference.
perfect career. Frank Gore.
But that's
he
the difference.
appreciated his
80% of
stardom.
the running backs. 80% of the running backs.
Right.
And wide receivers that was
Right.
in the NFL, black
Right.
players
Yeah, Frank
that
Gore.
was in the NFL
Right.
in the 90s.
Right.
Their mothers grew up in the 60s
Right.
to the 70s.
Right.
Had them in the 70s, they was playing football in the 90s.
Right.
They went through the coke era.
Yeah.
A lot of them was on drugs.
Right.
A lot of them came from the average cat that you find on a football field,
Right.
on a basketball court.
Yeah.
A lot of them came from single parent homes.
Yeah.
Their mother.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's so rare
Well,
that when they get
Frank-
drafted, you hear them say, "I'm gonna buy a house for my dad."
Right.
Nah, I'm getting my mama a house.
Exactly.
Right.
But going
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
this Ruggs situation,
Right.
and one of the things that I want to point out, and this where when you said
Omar, definitely. You
the
right.
grown
Yeah,
man
absolutely.
portion
Right.
kind of comes in,
Right.
or should come in, is when they get drafted and they have that rookie forum, and they go and they meet with these coaches and the financial advisors,
They
and
got
they
meetings though.
but they have these seminars
These rookie meetings. Go ahead.
throughout the year for rookies that they have to attend.
Yeah.
They go throughout this year and explain to them about their funds and what bracket you in, and then they go and explain to them about the company that you keep and how that can affect your money and all that. But it don't matter, 'cause the same way-
Sleeping in the
The same way my mom told me, don't go down Butler Street
You went down.
because I don't want nothing to happen to
You
you.
went down there.
And 10 minutes later, I go around Pike Street, down Franklin Street to Butler.
You're curious. You're curious.
Again, but watch what I did.
Right.
I didn't walk directly down the block
Right.
because she would see me.
Right.
I went the opposite way
and
and still disobeyed what was taught to me. So even though you can be taught this stuff, in your mind, you're saying, well, it ain't going to be me. Yeah, it's not going to be me.
Yeah, I do it a little halfway.
It's not going to be me.
I
they can tell you about drinking and driving because they do a seminar on that.
That's their job. Right.
They do a seminar on that about drinking and driving. You now got this money. You're going to want to party. You're going to want to spend. Be careful. Be mindful.
Things will be given to
all that stuff.
Right.
And then what happens?
You ain't getting that.
Split situation. A split.
It only takes a second. That's what they say. It only takes a second.
And so I guarantee you that boy is sitting back right now thinking about all the drinking he was doing and said, damn, I felt when I was getting on. I should have got some water.
Talented too.
Forget all that. I'm thinking about him as an individual, as a human being. Forget the athletic portion. Because right now, he's dealing with real reality. The real reality is
livelihood is
real life
now. It's going.
He's not even thinking about football right now.
It's real life now.
Right now it's about
real life.
How much time they gonna give him?
Right.
Because he gotta plead guilty.
I'm saying 7-10.
Yeah.
Listen, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
But that person's dead. He got a body.
Right. But it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Right. So we know, not to bring race into it.
Yeah.
But we know for a fact that there have been amongst DUIs in this country.
Right.
White folk carry the burden of the majority of DUIs in this country. They get services. Even if someone checks out, they get services. So when he pleads guilty, because he gonna plead guilty. When he pleads guilty, he's asking for the court for lenience because it wasn't intentional. Vehicular manslaughter. It wasn't intentional. That can reduce whatever.
Then somebody, what's the boy name? He killed somebody, came back and became a football player again.
Dante Starwood.
Yeah, Starwood. It happened to him, but Vegas rules it.
He gonna say, Your Honor, I ask for mercy on this court. He ain't gonna have no choice. He ain't gonna have no choice but to ask for mercy on that court, because if not, they gonna roof him.
That's right.
And you know that's part of the legal system. They're gonna look into seeing if he had any previous situations with DUIs. If not, that helps him and all that.
That book is gonna be open and that bind is gonna be cracked.
Yeah, man.
So with that being said, folks, real quick, we also know the Aaron Rodgers situation is very unfortunate about that. The NFL is looking into that. So we're gonna take our first break right now. It's 10 minutes to 1. 10 minutes to 12, actually, is it? Yeah, it's 12. Yeah, it's got me confused now. I'm looking at the clock. 10 minutes to 12. We're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to delve into the newest Ben Simmons situation. We're going to talk a little bit about the Sixers and how they've been playing. And whatever time we have left, you know us, we might throw something else in there. You are tuned in to SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the other side in just a couple of minutes.
Have mercy on me.